You watch them parallel park perfectly at the grocery store. You watch them assemble a piece of furniture from a 20-page instruction manual without help. You watch them navigate a foreign city on foot, confidently, in a language they barely spoke. And they stood in front of the sink for 90 seconds, put one plate in the wrong rack, and looked at you with that specific expression that said, "I tried. You see how hard this is for me. We both know you're better at this." And you did the dishes, again, like you had every night for the last 2 years. That expression, that exact performance of incompetence, has a name, and it's not a personality quirk. It's not laziness exactly. It's a tactic, a sophisticated, efficient tactic that redistributes all the invisible labor in a shared life onto one person while the other person maintains complete, plausible deniability. It's called weaponized incompetence, and the reason it works so well is that you can't easily confront it. You can't say, "You're pretending to be bad at this," because they'll just try again, slightly better, and declare the problem solved, and nothing will change. Tonight, what it is, how to identify it, and most importantly, how it changes a person over time when it goes unnamed. Weaponized incompetence is the deliberate or habituated performance of inability at a task in order to be exempted from it permanently. The person who does it doesn't need to consciously plan it. Many people who run this tactic have done it so long that it's become automatic, a reflex. Ask me to do X, perform poorly at X, watch the other person take over, and never do X again. The task can be anything: dishes, laundry, childcare routines, grocery runs, managing household finances, booking appointments, tracking social obligations, emotional labor, administrative tasks, domestic tasks that require sustained, invisible attention to the functioning of a shared life. What these tasks have in common is that they are often undramatic, non-negotiable, and chronically under-acknowledged. They need to be done regularly. They take time and cognitive bandwidth. They produce no visible achievement, and when they go wrong, someone has to manage the consequences. The weaponized incompetent identifies early, instinctively or consciously, which tasks fall into this category. They perform competence at things that are visible, praised, and optional. They perform incompetence at things that are invisible, routine, and mandatory. It's worth naming why this matters. Cognitive labor, the mental work of tracking what needs to be done, when, how, by whom, is exhausting in a way that is nearly impossible to quantify. Research on the mental load in domestic partnerships consistently shows that when one partner tracks all the invisible tasks while the other only executes assigned tasks, the tracker experiences significantly higher rates of stress, anxiety, and resentment, even when visible labor appears roughly equal. Weaponized incompetence doesn't just redistribute the doing, it redistributes the tracking. It offloads not only the task, but the awareness that the task exists. The weaponized incompetent doesn't just not do the laundry. They stop registering that laundry is a thing that happens. The awareness migrates entirely to the other person, where it becomes part of an invisible cognitive load they carry indefinitely. Like most relational patterns, weaponized incompetence exists on a spectrum. At one end, genuine, learned helplessness. Some people grew up in households where certain tasks were always done for them, where a parent managed everything so completely that the child never developed basic competence. They arrive in adult relationships with genuine gaps. They burn the first 3 eggs they attempt because they truly have not learned. This is real. It is also correctable, and it requires a partner who is willing to learn, not one who performs ignorance indefinitely. The key diagnostic here is response to being taught. If someone genuinely wants to close the competence gap, being taught feels welcome. They pay attention, they practice, they improve. The gap narrows over time. If someone performs incompetence as a tactic, being taught produces a particular response. They improve just enough to be let off the hook in the immediate moment, and then regress to baseline at the next occurrence of the same task. The improvement is temporary and strategic. The incompetence reasserts itself as soon as the accountability pressure drops. You taught them how to sort the laundry in April. It's September, and they're holding a red shirt and a white shirt with genuine seeming confusion. In the middle of the spectrum, habituated avoidance. The person isn't consciously gaming you. They've just learned what, through years of low-quality performance being met with eventual takeover, that incompetence gets them out of things. It's not calculated, it's conditioned. The behavior persists, not out of malice, but out of a deeply ingrained pattern of minimum effort that has never been challenged with real consequences. At the far end, deliberate tactical incompetence. This is a different animal. This person knows exactly what they're doing. They use incompetence as a control mechanism, not just to offload tasks, but to maintain a dynamic in which they have maximum freedom and minimum accountability. They've identified which tasks their partner will always take over. They've identified the exact level of minimal effort required to appear to be trying. They've calibrated the performance precisely enough to maintain plausible deniability. For this type, incompetence is a form of power. The more they can offload, the more cognitive bandwidth they retain for their own interests. The more their partner manages, the more their partner's attention is allocated to logistics, and the less attention is available for scrutinizing anything else in the dynamic. The partner on the receiving end of sustained weaponized incompetence experiences a gradual transformation that they rarely see happening in real time. It starts with accommodation. Early in the relationship, they take on extra tasks because it seems kind. The other person is stressed. It's not a big deal. They're better at this anyway. Then it calcifies into expectation. The accommodation becomes the norm. What was generosity becomes the baseline. When the partner who's been accommodating eventually stops or expresses frustration, they're met with surprise. You always do this. Why are you making it a problem now? What's happened is that the accommodation was silently converted into an obligation. The favor became the job, and the person who did the favor is now being asked to justify their reluctance to continue doing it. Over time, the person carrying the invisible load starts to change in ways they can't fully articulate. They lose spontaneity. Their mental bandwidth is so consumed by logistics that they can no longer simply be present in the relationship. Their mind is always running a background process. What needs to happen next? What was forgotten? What's going to go wrong if they stop tracking? They become irritable in ways they find difficult to explain to themselves. The frustration is real but can't be pinned to a single dramatic incident. There was no blow-up, no visible injustice, just 1,000 small moments of not being seen, of picking up something their partner declined to notice, of managing the invisible life of a household alone. They often start to feel like the less fun person in the relationship. The partner running the tactic maintains leisure because they've offloaded the cognitive burden and frequently seems lighter, more relaxed, more available for enjoyment. The loaded partner carrying the weight reads as tense, controlling, rigid. You need to relax. Why is this such a big deal? I said I'd do it eventually. Eventually is never a time, but you already knew that. The most insidious long-term effect. The person carrying the load begins to doubt their own perception of the imbalance. Because no single task is large enough to constitute a grievance. Because their partner technically does some things. Because when they try to articulate the problem, it comes out sounding petty. They don't do the dishes sounds trivial. The actual problem that they have been trained to be functionally incompetent in your shared life, so that you carry the entire cognitive architecture of that life without acknowledgement, is almost impossible to say in a single sentence that lands.